I don't want to ignore this aspect when it comes to Goliath, which of course we know recently launched when it comes to the mainnet in regard to Onyx. Now, nothing I say is financial advice, but if we take a look at what aspect I don't want to ignore, and that is how the Ethereum bridge, when it comes to Goliath, it's powered by something called Chain, which I get it. People like to say, what is Chain? Who cares about that? Well, here's the thing. Chain, literally, not that long ago, fully upgraded to ISO 20022. Now, people like to say, well, that sounds kind of lame, but why is it considered so impressive if something like Stellar, if something like XDC, if something like Ripple has an aspect of ISO 20022, but then suddenly when it comes to chain, it's suddenly considered lame? I don't agree with that, actually, right? It's like, for instance, a Ferrari is a Ferrari at the end of the day. I could park it outside, I can park it inside a garage. It's still a Ferrari. That's the way you take a look at it. Now, I'm personally not into supercars or anything like that, but I'm just saying that is just the analogy that I have. So when people like to tell me, well, who cares about all this type of stuff? Well, I do care because if the Ethereum bridge on Goliath is powered by Chain, which does have an aspect of ISO 20022, that is something that I don't want to ignore. That's my point of view because I just think it's pretty special, actually, if that is the case, which allegedly it is. However, if I take a look at it as well, keep in mind, when it comes to the origin of Onyx, Chain did rebrand to Onyx, right? But Chain as an entity, it's still doing its thing. But I'm saying Chain is also a part of the Onyx ecosystem. So at the end of the day, when I take a look at if Chain does something pretty awesome, I think it could indirectly also mean that it might be awesome too when it comes to Onyx. Now, did XCN see any sort of major kind of upwards movements lately? No, it did not. So people like to say, well, if that is the case, that means Goliath, in terms of the mainnet launch, it's a flop. Well, I don't agree with that because let's take a look at the launch of Polkadot 2.0. I mean, we know that, right? Polkadot is a way more massive project than Onyx. What did that do when it comes to DOT? In fact, not that long ago, we actually saw a new all-time low when it comes to DOT, which is Polkadot's native token. So imagine that. Polkadot 2.0 was a really massive thing when it comes to Polkadot, yet the charts are not doing good. If Polkadot's not doing good, why would suddenly Onyx be doing so good randomly? It's like altcoins as of right now are generally having a pullback. It's not only just XCN. Now, again, I'm not telling anyone to do anything here, but to me, the way you take a look at it is if my mindset is not yours, and if I'm so concerned over what happens every couple weeks or whatever, because I needed to hypothetically do a certain thing to kind of, still do my lifestyle or something like that, if my lifestyle basically depended on what this does in a week or 2 weeks, I would not be in this space. Literally, I would not, because it would just make no sense for me at that point, right? My mindset going into this is what could happen years down the line, maybe. I don't know exactly how long, but I knew that I was probably going to have to wait for quite a while. So if I was not prepared for that, I just wouldn't be in this space, simply put, because in the short to medium term, things can happen sometimes randomly. It's very hard to sometimes know what could exactly happen in such like a short amount of time like that, because maybe this gets announced or whatever gets announced, right? Or maybe there's something in the news or in the updates that could sway it in a certain way. It's just really hard to know exactly what could maybe happen in the short to medium term. That's the way you take a look at it. It's like, for instance, Bitcoin one point was at $1, right? As of right now, of course, it's still above 60 grand. Not that long ago, it was well above 100 grand, but I'm saying still, the journey from $1 to like over 60 grand, generally speaking, it's been positive, of course. But then at the same time, what happens along the way, that's just really sometimes tough to know exactly what could happen. So I'm not trying to do that. I'm treating it like a long-term thing. That's the way you take a look at it. Had someone been holding like Bitcoin from like $1, let's say up until right now, there would have to be like a lot of random movements along the way, in which some cases the holder may not necessarily know as to why or how, or like, really even know if that could happen at that exact moment. Sometimes it's just very difficult to know that. So when it comes to this space overall, kind of my mentality is I have to treat this like a long-term thing. Personally, for me, I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but that's the way to take a look at it. And again, XCN as of right now, keep in mind, the market cap is still below 200 million. But if a lot of my friends out there are happy that Bitcoin had a pullback and now they are able to basically accumulate at a lower point, if they have that same principle, I just personally think that it kind of applies to me here, because the reason why some of my friends are happy about dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin at right now, basically, is because they are happy that something that they like had a pullback, so then now they're able to accumulate, in some cases, at a hypothetically lower point. That's kind of the principle that some of my friends do have. But I kind of take that exact same thing and I apply it here. They like Bitcoin, sure. Some of my friends out there, they like the S&P 500. Some of them like gold. Again, I can't control anyone. I can only control myself. But they like it if things have a dip, so to speak, when it comes to the things that they're a fan of, right? Or should I say projects that they like or something like that, or whatever the case may be. But to me, since I like Onyx, now I don't only just like Onyx, by the way, I also like other projects, but because I like this and it is below 200 million in terms of market cap, I'll happily just still dollar cost average only once a month though. That's it. Because to me, the lower I can accumulate at a lower point, I should say, the happier I'd be for dollar cost averaging. If my intent was to leave, of course, like the lower the point, why? Like that wouldn't be such a good thing personally in my perspective. But if my intent was to hypothetically accumulate, think about it in a long-term mindset, be comfortable having to probably wait for quite a while if need be, then I see no reason for me to complain as of right now. I'm just treating it like a routine. That's the way to take a look at it. Some people have been dollar cost averaging into gold for like 20, 30 years or whatever, right? Because they treat it like a long-term thing. Now, 20 or 30 years in Onyx, that seems like very extreme. But I'm saying if I just kind of like, tone it down a little bit, if I'm waiting for a hypothetical altcoin season, or if I'm waiting for, the market sentiment to maybe return back to a certain point I've seen before, maybe it might not have to be like decades, right? But who knows? I'm just saying. But in this case, the way I view it is we literally saw a billion in terms of market cap last year when it comes to XCN. Last year, right? I'm not saying the last time we saw it was like 2 years ago. No, we just literally saw it last year. And if XCN could return back to that, again, we're slightly below 200 million in terms of market cap. So we're basically around 5 times lower than that. And that's just returning back to that point. It's not saying XCN has to reach any new milestones or, become top 10. No. If it just goes back to the point in which we've seen it literally achieve just last year, we're around 5 times lower than that. Actually, we're slightly over 5 times lower than that. But even besides that as well, XCN, I've seen a little bit of the amount of holders, I think, not being the best as of late, because at times I saw like around 145 or around 146,000. Now it's around 144,000, at least from what I can see personally. In which case, again, it might indicate that some people are leaving, but it makes sense. The charts are down. But usually when a lot of people leave, when the charts are down, what happens? The price is down, right? So if it is down and it's not looking the best, that's when I'd be most happy for dollar cost averaging. But of course, I am not telling anyone to do anything. I am, again, just speaking on only my behalf. But I just treat it like a routine. That's the way to take a look at it. It's like personally for me, I love keeping fish, right? I'm a fish keeper. And I also like watering plants. But I feed my fish, I take care of it. I also, keep plants and I try to take care of it as best as I possibly can. But it's like a long-term thing. And I treat it like a routine that I take care of it. It's just kind of the same principle here, but just of course in a different like medium, right? It's a different medium because in the other case I was talking about fish and as well as plants. In this case I'm talking about Onyx, right? So yeah, it's just kind of the principle and mindset that I do have, but I am not telling anyone to do anything. However, I'm still waiting, and that's it. If there's going to be more updates when it comes to Onyx, I'll be sure to make more, updated videos to kind of give my thoughts on it and just kind of break it down. I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Melly the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.